number 8, the Deputy isn't present. So then on question number 9, Deputy Thomas P. Broughan. Deputy Broughan.
Thanks, Lascan. Well, obviously, this government since 2011 has slashed the total amounts, I think, of rent supplement very, very significantly. Now, obviously, the tenancy sustainable protocol was very welcome in January and has helped. I think the last reply we got from the House from the Minister, around 500 families had been uplifted at that particular time, perhaps a few weeks ago. But obviously, I would like to, particularly in this question, to know, what are the numbers in terms of those who were refused. The Minister, the Minister, of course, herself didn't recognise that you hadn't got a legal leg to stand on in relation to uplifts and in relation to market rents, and that's why the sustainability protocol emerged, because the making of a family homeless through lack of support of rent supplement was not an option to the Minister, even though she slashed it by hundreds of millions in the last 4 years.
Deputy Minister Humphries.
I think Deputy Broughan needs to go back and check his figures. Rent supplement plays a vital role in housing families and individuals, with the scheme supporting approximately 68,000 families at an annual cost of $298 million. Over 5,600 claims have been awarded since 2015, of which almost 1,600 are in Dublin. In response to the current market difficulties, the Department has implemented the preventive measures under rent supplement to provide a flexibility in assessing customers' individual accommodation needs through the National Tenancy Sustainable Framework. The framework applies both to existing rent supplement customers and also to new applicants who qualify for the scheme. Under the approach, tenant circumstances are considered on a case-by-case basis, and rents are being increased above the prescribed limits throughout the country as appropriate. Notices have been issued to community welfare services staff twice within the last 12-month period, reminding them of their discretionary powers to award supplements for rental purposes. The Department is also working with Thresholds Tenancy Sustainable Services in Dublin and Cork City, where supply is most acute. The flexible approach has already assisted over 2,100 rent supplement householders nationwide to retain their rented accommodation through repayment of increased rent payments. A divisional breakdown of these figures is provided in the attached tabular statement. Statistics are not maintained regarding the total number of applicants made for increased payments or their outcome. However, where community welfare service staffs are notified of a potential threat of a tenancy loss due to rising rents, flexibility is provided where the uplift request is reasonable and in line with local rents for similar properties. The Department has also undertaken a communication campaign which seeks to encourage people at risk to contact the Department or Threshold Tenancy Protection Services as early as possible. I can assure the Deputy that I am keeping the Department's response under review to ensure that the necessary supports are continues to be provided.
Thank you, Minister. Deputy Thomas P. Broughan.
Thanks, Ken. Well, I have to say, Minister, that again, your response, the core part of your response about refusals or delays in helping people to avoid homelessness, it doesn't answer my question at all. You say there are no statistics. The biggest failure of this government by far has been housing. As I said to the Taoiseach here a couple of weeks ago, every Thursday, Friday evening, our homeless unit in Parkgate Street, as you know, as both of you know, Minister, is completely under siege. We've perhaps 70 families each weekend not being able to receive any emergency accommodation. There's no room at the inn for those families, week after week after week, day after day after day. A totally intolerable situation. Some people in this House have criticised Greece, but that's a situation, in fact, that mirrors some of the things and is worse than some of the things that's happening in Greece. We've 5 or 6 hotels completely full. We have dozens of other hotels and guest houses where many rooms are taken up with families. And the last figures, which, by the way, the government only gave us, I think, last April, showed at that stage that over 1,100 children were homeless and 500 families. And the two of you are sitting here, and we've had no action. There is no action on this matter. We have a minister coming out to next week or something to my own constituency to launch perhaps a couple of dozen apartments, and we've hundreds of families in my my constituency alone, Dublin Bay North, who are homeless. So I want to ask you, Minister, will you address? We have your colleague Senator Hayden holding a meeting today, I think, about the deficiencies of rent supplement. Will you now bring in legislation in relation to rent regulation, and will you at long last, before this government ends, declaring a housing emergency?
Thank you. I'm calling the Minister to reply, and I'll go back to the Deputy. Minister?
Well, Deputy Broughan, I don't know what you're advocating, whether we go down the Greece mechanism where there is no social welfare, there is no safety net, there is no catch to vulnerable people, there is no transfer through the Department of Social Protection to the most vulnerable.
Please, Minister has the floor.
Well, look at Deputy, you can either ask a question and get an answer, or you can shout at me. So whichever way you want.
Minister has the floor.
Well, the Deputy is well aware.
Please. Without interruption, please, Minister.
Deputy, you had an opportunity to stay within the Labour Party and work for solutions, but you always seem to like to opt out rather than work for solutions.
Please don't.
Are opposed to rent regulation. You know that.
Sorry, the Minister is entitled to reply now, please.
Yeah, well, sometimes well, look at Deputy.
Come on, just reply, Minister.
You asked the question, I'm going to get an answer. And Deputy, you know, and like I served in Dublin City Council for long enough with you, and you know the challenges in relation to housing and homelessness that this country faces. And you know very well that not all homeless people has a whole range of problems that has to be addressed. But to answer the specific questions to you is, you know very well that the collapse of the construction industry, where virtually no houses have been built over the last 6 years to deal with the housing. There was no money within this country to do this.
Thank you, Minister.
No, I just wanted to say the simplest. Deputy throws out the simple solutions in many ways and says, "Oh, increase rent allowance." By increasing rent allowance, is not going to resolve.
All right, I have to be fair. Sorry, Minister, I have to call. No, look at.
Trying to twist my words. I asked for rent regulation.
Sorry,
You're not going to be allowed to bring it in because the majority party and this party over here are bitterly opposed to rent regulation.
Deputy
because they represent the land.
will you please ask a question? I'm back to you now. I'm sorry, the time is up now, and I'm back to the Minister. Then have you a question,
Minister? Will the Tánaiste will she meet homeless and people who are on the housing list, the National Housing Association and Coalition? Will she meet some of these groups over the next couple of weeks?
Minister, to conclude now.
Well, first of all, that question wasn't addressed to me, no, but in relation to what the Deputy says, Minister Alan Kelly is bringing proposals to Cabinet in relation to rent certainty before the summer recess.
Thank you. Now, Deputy Bernard Durkin has the final.